Alex Barth and Evan Lazar with you from Gillette Stadium. And Evan, as you do leading up to every Patriots game, you posted your ideal Patriots game plan. You can check that out on CLNSmedia.com. A spoiler alert for those who haven't checked it out yet this week. You want the Patriots to run the ball. Sony, Michel, or no, you want to see them put the ball on the ground with only 2 running backs on the roster.
Yeah, ballsy.
Before we get to that part of it, what did you see in watching tape? What did you see from the Bills that you think this is the way to go?
Sure. So I think 2 things. One thing is that their pass rush is one of the best in the league, 5th in the league right now in pressure percentage according to PFF. And Jerry Hughes, Lorenzo Alexander, Kyle Williams in the middle of that defense. You go back and watch that tape in the Minnesota Vikings game where they pulled off the upset, which is really kind of their formula to win a football game at this point in time. It was the pass rush, 2 strip sacks and another interception forced by pressure. That was kind of what turned that game, around for the Buffalo Bills in favor of the Buffalo Bills. So what do you do to slow down a pass rush? You run the football and you give them something else to think about in order to prevent them from really pinning their ears back. The other reason why the Indianapolis Colts, one of the worst rushing teams in football, ran for 220 yards against this Bills defense last week. The Bills pass defense, very good. Very good secondary, very good pass rush, very good marriage between the two. Their run defense has had some problems with some of the things that the Patriots like to do.
All right, so you're saying this could be a Jonas Gray type of situation where
anybody
it's not so much about who the running back is, it's just about who they're facing.
If Marlon Mack can run for over 126 yards and a touchdown averaging almost 6 yards per carry, then why can't James White or Kenyon Barner do the same exact thing? It's not like Marlon Mack is Walter Payton or anything.
So then which one of those guys is it? Because obviously with James White, 1, you want him fresh for the receiving game, and 2, do you risk giving him the ball 20, 25 times with a possible injury? But then that just leaves Kenyon Barner. So who's the bell cow this week then?
I think that it's going to be James White. I think James White gets a lot of the touches out of that backfield this week. But I don't think that it necessarily needs to be one guy. I think that Barner can also contribute as well. And with the little bit of carries that we've seen from Barner, he's proven that he can get what's blocked. He's not necessarily going to break outside of that and get a ton of yards after contact or make a ton of guys miss. But you get him some blocking, you get him some space, and he can still do it. And I think that's what we're going to see in this game. A couple of things that the Colts were able to do against that Bills team was use their speed and athleticism at the linebacker position. That is very youthful, right? Trayman Edmonds, a rookie. Milano is a second-year player. Those 2 guys are both very athletic, exactly the type of linebacker that you want in today's NFL. But because of their inexperience, you can use a lot of counter plays, a lot of misdirection plays, and get them moving one direction and run the ball the other direction. That's exactly what the Colts did. They pulled a lot of guards. They pulled tackles. They did all that kind of stuff, a lot of counter plays, G-scheme, and it was able to, really gash that Bills defense.
Well, then let me ask you this. With bye seasons upon us, injuries starting to pile up, we know James White's a go-to fantasy starter. Is Kenyon Barner a sneaky little flex option
I think
this
it's
week?
a sneaky little flex option. I really do think so, because as much as James White is going to be, I think, the primary guy in the backfield, and I would say the primary guy in the goal line and the red zone is probably going to be James White too, which kind of would hurt Barner a little bit. But I think that in order to slow down this defense, the only way that the Buffalo Bills win this game is with their defense. They're not going to score a lot of points against the Patriots. They're not going to win the game with their offense. If that pass rush can get to Brady and to cause some turnovers, that could lead to, some uneven fields, some short fields for Derek Anderson, and maybe some points. So I think that the way to slow that down is really to run the football, maybe to throw some screen passes as well. But I think Barner's kind of, if you're desperate, is kind of a sneaky flex option.
Well, here's why I like Kenyon Barner this week, not just in fantasy, but I think that he could have a good game and a big role in this game. The Bills are not a great team, like you mentioned, offensively. If the Patriots can move the ball early and James White does what he needs to early, and let's say this goes how a lot of Patriots-Bills games have gone in the half, and you're looking at a 17, 20, 21-point game at halftime.
Could be closing it up.
I'm not sure that James White is your closer in the situation. I get giving him the ball early, but again, I don't feel comfortable giving James White 25, 30 carries, especially if you have a comfortable lead. So there you go. Enter Kenyon Barner. And possibly, dare I say, enter James Devlin with some carries too.
Oh man, I don't think James Devlin's a fantasy start.
Not a fantasy option.
No,
but I would. What's his career high in carries in a game? What, 2, 3?
Yeah, it can't be.
I would not be surprised if he breaks that this week. Cordell Patterson too, I think, is a candidate.
I think that Cordell Patterson's another guy on those reverses that the Indianapolis Colts were able to gash them with too. A couple of reverses in that game that really went for some big yardage. So I think that the main thing is that this defense of Buffalo, very fast, very good at getting after the passer, and they have some guys guys on the outside, Tre'Davious White, Micah Hyde in the secondary, that can, shut down people. So I think that the interesting thing here for the Patriots, if SONY Michel was healthy, this would be 100% a running game for the Patriots. Unfortunately, he's probably not going to be in this game, so I think that they might have to deter a little bit and maybe add Cordell Patterson, maybe add some short passing game into this kind of philosophy. But misdirection and getting those Bills linebackers, running in the wrong direction is going to be a key for this game plan.
There you go, Evan Lazar's game plan. You can read the full thing at clnsmedia.com.